Do you see 4 tires or 2 tired kids in the back seat after their first day of school? Other insurance companies just see a car, but a State Farm agent sees what your car really means to you. So why not give it the protection it deserves? See State Farm agent Barkley Hudson in Princeton today.
Christian Care Center of Catawba announces Gita Shabda, their new medical director, and that they now have on-site physician services specializing in internal medicine and pulmonary, Monday through Friday during regular business hours. Christian Care Center of Catawba is Joint Commission certification with 57 private rooms, all covered by private pay, insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid. They also have a designated area for smokers. It's the next best thing to home. Call Christian Care Center of Catawba, nurturing body, mind, and spirit.
It's time to vote for your favorites in the YourSportsEdge.com Fan Faves, presented by First Financial Bank. Go to YourSportsEdge.com to cast your vote today in over 20 categories. Hurry, voting ends July 12th.
This is Kayla Thomas with Farmers Bank, and I hope you'll join me in staging the greatest comeback of all time.
It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYonline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from the WPKY studios at 1035 West Main Street in Princeton. Thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate you listening to the show each and every week, and going to hit the ground running today. We've got Caldwell County Youth Incorporated President Dwight Meeks with us. Caldwell County football stat man Gary Goodaker is here as well, and first of all, Dwight, going to start with you, and I guess things are all systems go for Youth League starting on Monday.
That's correct, Todd. Monday, we were open. Actually, we were able to start practicing, I think, the 15th. So as soon as they give us the okay to practice, we took off, chose our teams, been practicing. Now, we have not got a lot of practices in, of course, and the weather's not helped us out a lot, especially this week, A lot of rain. Fields are very wet right now, but that's in every town. So, but we start Monday, and Gary, I believe we play Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, just about the whole time.
Oh, yes. The weather has been good the first 2 weeks. This week's wet, but I'm not used to a July opening, but you're going to start July 6th, Monday. Most leagues are either Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, depending on their age and whether they play baseball or softball. And one of the good things about the schedule is that pretty much most parks have one game a night, so that you have to limit. You can limit your disinfecting. You can get in, get out. And I think the schedule is going to be a little different, but I think it's going to work out during the COVID time to be better for the kids and the spectators.
Gary, I think just like all the moms and dads, they're just ready for some baseball and some softball, just to get out there and start playing, let our kids get some exercise. And then I think the following week or the week after that, T-ball comes on. I know they're already having T-ball practice. And so I think the parents are looking forward to that, and so we're ready to play some ball.
I was going to say it's sort of a natural segue there. We go from starting the season to Gary had a big hand in the schedule, so
yes.
Gary knows all about who's playing who and exactly where.
Let me tell you, this year, of course, has been a little different. It's different everywhere. And Gary, who was on our baseball committee, has stepped out for a couple of years. And, of course, he has an open invitation at any time to come back. And we expect to see you back, Gary. But this year, Gary stepped up to help us with our schedule. Misty Porter is new, and Gary stepped in there. Gary, thank you so much. We've had some other people step up to help us. Bridgie Miller. Hey, Bridgie said, hey, what can I do down there to help you out? And I said, Bridgie, I could use some mowing. And Bridgie's kind of took over the T-ball field, weed eating, mowing, and doing some other stuff. So if you see Bridgie, give him a thank you. Brandon Stallions, what can I do for you out there? And we set bases, worked on the fields. Brandon's made, if I hadn't had Brandon out there, I don't know what I'd have done. And and I know I'm leaving some others out, and I just can't think right now.
Well, Angela's going to do the concessions,
Angela,
at
yes.
Cotton, so that's covered, and she's got a good experience there, and that's going to be good for the spectators to know that they've got that option.
Yes, and we're able to cook and serve kind of what we want. Of course, you have to do your social distance there. Ray's coming back. He starts today, matter of fact. We had to lay Ray off for a while, but he's coming back to take care of the fields, and I'm really super glad of that, I'll tell you. But
and we got Webster County coming in, a new county that we haven't had before, and that had some because of their distance, they're going to play some of their home games here at Caldwell, but that's just more opportunities for us to have different people in the ballpark show off what we've got. And the fall, it's not really a fall league almost, but it's a late summer league, and I think that's going to be interesting because the days are going to get a little shorter, but because we're only going to play mostly the one game, I don't think it'll impact the experience at all. And I'm just excited that Misty was able to reach out to Webster and kind of complete our league. I think it gives us a different variety, and you won't have to play as many teams, 3 or 4 times because we have enough opponents.
That's right. Yeah. And Dawson, now they bowed out this year. Hopefully they're coming back next year. And so that will be another team at it next year, hopefully. And I think we're pretty much covered with our teams. If everybody comes back next year, we're pretty good at what we got.
Well, and it helps us to be kind of centrally located because we end up with a lot of those extra games, and it kind of puts a little pressure on you from a field standpoint because there's only so many fields, but at the same time, like Gary said, it certainly helps with things like concessions, and you bring a few more people to town, and that helps businesses. So
that's correct.
We've kind of gotten a good deal by being the most centrally located county in the whole group.
That's right. And, we've really worked hard on our fields, and we still have some more field maintenance to do, next year with our Tilly field. We're going to redo it. I want to show our fields off. I think we've done a really good job out there, and I'm glad some other teams are coming in and seeing that, aren't you, Gary?
I am, and I'm also very happy that there's going to be a season because my son that plays baseball that's going to be a sophomore, I look beyond his last 3 years here, and I'm looking at will there be a replacement group? And a year off from baseball or softball, some of these children may just say, I'm done with it. I didn't miss it. But if they get to stay with it, we need for our Tiger baseball and softball programs, we need another group to come through, and you don't need to have 1 or 2 years where you lose players, and I was afraid that could happen this year.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And Gary and Todd, our sign-ups are over. We've picked our teams and stuff, but I'm still getting calls, for people who are just, late sometimes. And,
it was kind of an unusual year. Nobody's expecting you to have sign-ups and then stop sign-ups and then pick them back up again.
Right, that's right. So the only thing, I can tell those people, I'm sorry we've picked our teams, but don't forget us next year. And I can't already wait for next year. I'm ready for next year.
Well, and the easiest way is just to watch the Youth Incorporated Ratliff Park Facebook page.
Yes.
Now, I know everybody's not on Facebook, but this would be a good chance to maybe at least get on there long enough to check the Caldwell County page from time to time because all the sign-ups and those things are on there.
That's right. And, this year, of course, Todd, who was on the board, we'd already planned a big 4th of July tournament out the ballpark. And then, of course, we were going to have fireworks after that. And we've had to back up on that this year. Thank goodness we are having fireworks at the city county. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank Dunk on that again. But don't forget us next year. Our plans are to have a big tournament down there next year and, like I say, show our parks off and just have some fun. So don't forget us.
Well, again, not really anybody's fault this year that things worked out the way they did. It's just you try to make the best of the situation. And there was a time when I wasn't even sure there would be a youth league this summer. So the fact that we're about there is, a big step in the right direction.
Todd, I didn't think we would come back. I really didn't. And I do want to stress to the parents out there, if we do have one case develop, we will be shut down. The league voted on that, all the towns, and let's just hope and pray that nothing like that happens, and that this virus will get out of here eventually, and that none of the kids or the parents will be sick, and we can play ball.
We're talking this morning with Caldwell County Youth Incorporated President Dwight Meeks. Also, Gary Goodaker with us. Need to get to a break here on the show, but we'll be back with more after this here on the Sideline Report on WPKY.
B&C Unique Boutique is now open in the Princeton Plaza, offering boutique fashions, footwear, and accessories, sizes small to 3X. New fashions arriving weekly. Check out the personalized items they can customize just for you. Current special on Candleberry candles, 25% off. Shop in person Monday through Friday, 10 to 6.
Your local McDonald's wants you to know that they're ready to serve you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They've always had their drive-thru, and now they're offering curbside pickup service as well. To avoid the wait in the drive-thru, you can download the McDonald's app and try curbside pickup. They appreciate your patience and understanding during this time. We are all having to adjust to this new way of life. It's temporary, but in the meantime, enjoy breakfast, lunch, or dinner at your local McDonald's.
Dr. Carl Hinton provides a variety of surgeries and scopes at the Trigg County Hospital Surgery Center. Dr. Hinton is well known and loved in this area and provides years of experience in the following procedures: appendectomy, colonoscopy, EGD, gallbladder, skin lesions, tubal ligation, and more. Dr. Hinton is available for clinic appointments Monday and Thursday 1 to 5 and Fridays 8 to noon. His office is located in Suite D of the Medical Arts Building next to Trigg County Hospital. Call 270-522-2557. Close to home, close to your heart.
Planters Bank remains committed to delivering the highest level of support to its customers during this challenging time. In addition to their regular in-location and drive-through services, Planters Bank offers many remote banking services. You can check your balance, make a deposit, transfer money, and even fill out a loan or credit card application online. To learn more about their convenient banking tools, visit plantersbankonline.com.
If this community is as important to you as it is to us, we invite you to join us weekdays for our WPKY local newscast at 6:30, 7:30, noon, and 5. 20 newscasts a week means we're committed to keeping you informed on local events. You can also find news when you want it at WPKYonline.com. Thanks for listening to 1580 103.3 WPKY.
The Sideline Report continues here on 1580 103.3 WPKY and WPKYonline.com. Again, thanks for joining us today. We've got Gary Goodaker with us. Dwight Meeks is in the studio as well, and lots of good information on the youth baseball and softball and t-ball seasons coming up. And, you guys were talking about a lot of people coming here. Well, to me, one of the big things about our league was always that, if you went to Dawson or you went to Marion or wherever, you could hit up Dairy Queen.
That's correct.
Well, guess what?
That's right. Come on, Webster. We have a Dairy Queen. Crittenden, we have a Dairy Queen. Yeah, come on.
We've moved into the 21st century, I guess. We now have a Dairy Queen in Princeton, and that always seemed to be, especially over in Dawson Springs, that was always the popular spot after any game.
That's right.
Hitting the Dairy Queen on the corner on the way out of town.
That's right. Todd, I'll tell you, you was talking about the ballparks. I kind of look with Webster on our schedule on 8U. They'll be playing us here at home, so our team won't be traveling. But last Saturday, my wife, we drove to Providence and Clay to check the ballparks out, and until I was almost there, that's when I realized that we don't play at that ballpark. But at least I know where they're at. But I was looking forward to playing out of town, some different ballparks. And I think those young kids do too. I think they look forward to playing other places.
Yeah, it's that was one thing about the youth football for the longest time. That was I thought a big calling for that was that you'd get to go to Union County or Webster County or Crittenden County and play those games. And to me, it just seems like a bigger deal, especially for the kids, to get to hop in the car and drive someplace and play on somebody else's field.
That's right. When of course, when I was young, we just played here. And, and now it's kind of exciting just to go to other ballparks and see what they have done and how they've improved their parks, and it makes you want to improve your parks,
right?
To stay up with them, keep up with the Joneses. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've all looked at Lyon County's park and wanted to try to emulate that in a lot of ways, including, hopefully at some point down the road, a nice playground.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's one thing we do need. So if anybody's got like $1 million out there and you want to just hand over to Youth Incorporated, we will take it and we will put your name on a park out there. But yes, that is something that we've all talked about, Todd, that we need a park out there.
$500,000 would probably get it started. Yeah.
Oh, I think that might do us.
We're talking about trying to get the season off the ground, and again, there were a lot of times where I didn't think that was even going to happen, but what kind of special conditions or rules are there going to be at the park coming up because of the coronavirus?
Well, I talked to Josh Ramage, and we have our social distance signs out there, and we put them up yesterday. And then we have a bunch of hand sanitizer, and there will be a bottle of hand sanitizer in each dugout or around that area. And then there's hand sanitizer at the restroom, be outside the restroom, at the concession stand, and other places you should see that. Of course, the concession stand will be taped off the 6-foot distance, like you see at the other stores. And so will the restrooms also. Mask, you don't have to wear a mask. If you want to wear a mask, go ahead. You're not going to offend anybody. Kids also. If your kid chooses to wear a mask, do so. But we're not going to wear a mask out there. One thing, I don't believe a kid could play ball as hard as it is with a mask on. I have trouble walking around with it just when I go somewhere, But other than that, just use common sense, and we'll make it.
Bring your chair?
Oh, yes, Gary, I'm glad you said it. The bleachers will be roped off, every bleacher, and I think that's in every town also. I believe we all voted to do that. And like Gary said, bring your chairs and try to sit. If you are a family, you can sit together. If not, leave 6 to 8 foot where you can sit. And ballparks are kind of big. You can sit around there in your chairs and stuff.
Yeah, you can get around the outfield and a lot of fields and sit there, and that's in some cases a better place to watch the game.
That's right. You're correct. So bring your chairs, bring an appetite, spend some money. We could use it, and just enjoy this season, because you never thought baseball would be taken away from you. You never thought football, basketball, volleyball. What other sports,
Soccer.
And
that's pretty high contact, too.
Yes.
I mean, golf is playing. I mean, on your Sports Edge, you're doing a good job covering the golf. I'm sure they'll try to do cross country, but basically, other than golf and cross country, it's going to be very difficult. Volleyball, with being an inside sport, that's a challenge for it. I think that's the only inside sport of the fall, correct? Volleyball?
Yes.
That's the only inside sport, but they have their own challenges. So, yes, it's going to be unique this year, but it's going to help the kids have some outlet for their mental health. That's I think that's going to be crucial, because we don't know what school's going to bring. So this is giving them a chance to get outside.
And, you've seen it. You never thought it'd be taken away. Well, it's been taken away from us. So enjoy. If you're getting to play right now, enjoy it. Don't take it for granted. Give those umpires a break. Let me tell you, the umpires, I don't know if they're going to wear a mask or not. I think when they have to talk to a coach, they have to put a mask on. But please, parents, give our umpires a break this year. I know in the heat of the moment, everybody gets a little riled up, and me included. But remember, our umpires are human, and they make mistakes, and give them a break, okay?
Well, and the good thing about baseball and softball is you can kind of social distance on the field a little bit. It's some sports, and like Gary was saying, it's going to be more difficult to keep people apart, but with the baseball and softball thing, there's just not a whole lot of time where people are really close together.
That's right. And I'll tell you something else. I'm helping coach 8U, and So I'm telling all the parents, we're talking about social distance. The coaches are telling them, and we're talking to our kids about social distance. Well, who do you think was the first guy right into one of the kids talking to him? I mean, I was like giving them high five. You get out there, you forget stuff. That's just
old
when you
habits.
play. It is, and it's hard to break. So that's going to happen. Parents, bear with us. If remind us, hey, coach, get back a little bit. Won't offend me.
And if we remind each other at the park, we don't need to take offense like someone's in your business. It's all our business to stay healthy, or we're not going to have this league very much longer.
That's
so
right.
If we just kindly say, I need my space, or if you notice that there's something even the little kids are doing, just redirect them in a kind way. And I think that it will go a long way, that it shows you care, that you want this to be the full 6-week experience that was scheduled.
That's right.
Just from some of the games I've seen that have kind of gotten going in the area, it's a little weird to watch the teams play a game and then wave at each other afterward instead of having the handshake line after the game, because we've all been there, we've all seen it forever, and it just looks a little weird when you don't get to see it.
I'll guarantee you after a game, some of the coaches will forget, line their kids up and go, oh, wait a minute, we can't do that. I forgot about that. So,
well, there's always a lineup coach, right? I mean, as soon as the game's over, that coach that yells, line up, everybody line up. And
and I'll tell you, somebody else that's really going to be important this year is those dugout moms and dads. You have the coaches out on the field, but the real work is probably behind the scenes. Of course, we're supposed to social distance our kids. They all can't be in the dugout. So you've got 10 kids, and you're trying to get them 6 foot apart. Those moms and dads are going to be working their tail off. And so hats off to those mom and dads who are going to volunteer to do that.
One thing that has probably helped the ballpark this year is not having people on the fields as much, because when you go out there and look at the fields, the grass looks great, the fields look great. Unfortunately, that it took the coronavirus to bring a stop to everything for that to happen. But I think when people show up to play games now, they're really going to enjoy the fields, and the kids are going to get to play on the fields, and everything out there is looking nice.
I'd say every ballpark around, I wish they had a lot of foot traffic on it, right now. But I'm sure every ballpark looks pretty good right now with just the minimum what they've been on it. Settle Field is really looking good right now with that Bermuda grass coming out. We're tickled to death about our infield over at Oliver. We're going to be working on that this week. A lot of rain on it, so we've got to drag it and put some conditioner on it and get it ready. But Monday we'll be ready.
Gary, which leagues are playing Monday night?
Oh, let's see. Monday night, I believe, is 8U softball and 12U softball, and I believe 10U baseball. That's the other way around. I did the wrong one first. That's the Tuesday, Friday. Yeah. So it would be the flip of that Monday and Thursday. So it'd be 8U baseball, 12U baseball, and 10U softball.
And just kind of the way everything worked out this year, there probably won't be as many games each night as, maybe in the past. So that kind of limits the traffic at the ballpark too, I would think.
Yeah, most nights each park will only have one game, and that's to help with the not have to disinfect immediately after the game. They could do it the next day. If there's a doubleheader, then it's the same 2 teams playing each other twice, so they don't vacate their dugouts. We don't switch dugouts. It would just be you switch home and away, and there's no need to disinfect because it's the same kids. So we've tried to make the schedule where that the fields will be clean when you get there, and then they'll be clean the next day or later that night in anticipation of the following game. So it was different because you're used to the old traditional Cubs and Cardinals play at 6 and Red Sox and Yankees play at 7:30. Well, we don't want that in the same field, because if you did that, it would not get to play played at 7:30. You'd have to get everybody out. Then that takes longer, because the old way, I remember coaching, you had to tell the kids that were coming in, wait, let us out. Well, you can't do that under these scenarios, because we need to make sure that the dugouts and the area have been disinfected. So there won't be as many late games as there used to be under the old way.
Well, that was always one of my favorite things at the ballpark, was going out there and having a game on every field, and cars parked as far as you could see, and I'm definitely going to miss that, but just glad that we're getting ready to play.
There will at times. There are all 4 ballparks, and including T-ball, will all be going at one time. They're just going to play one game.
Yes.
So all 4 fields will be taking it at some time. And you hear Gary talking about the schedule. That's why Gary done the schedule, because if I was in charge of the schedule, we could play Monday night, and that would have been as far as I could got with that schedule, okay?
But we wanted to do that because they allowed me in the meetings because they asked me to do this, and they talked about, I can attest this because I'm not on the board or the committee, the safety was what I kept hearing over and over again. And yes, would it be easier to just have 2 fields and play a game at 6 and a game at 7:30? Yes, that would be easier to prepare because it's harder to prepare 4 fields. But they stressed that it was better to do it safely, and that meant using all 4 fields, but doing 1 game a night for the safety of and also less crossing traffic, because if you have a second game, you got a bunch of kids hanging around waiting to play, or they've got to warm up somewhere.
Yeah,
so,
and then, also, like you said, Webster County's Webster and Triggs playing here in Princeton. So,
yes. When they play certain opponents.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be playing in Princeton instead of traveling as much.
So they will, the safety of saying, okay, when you have a second game, you've got all the congregation of more parents, which limits your social distancing. So by it being 1 game a night in a field, or if it's a doubleheader, the same 2 squads, you won't have this overflow of people waiting to get in a field, and that allows us realistically to meet the governor's request of having enough room to distance the people who will be there. So that was important, that they knew that the safety and following the guidelines was the most important thing, even though it's harder on the crew to get 4 fields instead of 2.
And I know 4 fields, it's still less foot traffic than playing double headers and stuff. It's still less foot traffic, and not being around each other as much.
In essence, we've spread them out as much as we can.
That's right.
Dwight, anything else people need to know as they get ready to come out to the ballpark this year?
Well, just bear with us. I'm sure there's going to be some hiccups. Please bear with us. Right now, I want to tell you that Ray is the only one. We couldn't get our jail help back because of the guidelines right now. They haven't opened them up. So Ray is out there and volunteer help. If there are some people out there who would love to run a weed eater, Ray would love to have you out there. So if you'll contact me, we can put you on a schedule. Todd's been out there weed eating some.
It's great fun. I mean, if you haven't done it, it's fantastic.
If you love weed eating, you'd have a ball out there,
Absolutely.
wouldn't you?
There are plenty of weeds to be.
Yes, plenty of weeds.
Make a day of it.
But because you have the new posts and you have the aesthetic of the trying to make the ballpark look better, one consequences of that is that you have things to weed eat around.
That's correct.
Like the trees that you've been planting. With the field looking better, you're going to have more obstacles. You can't just run a big mower and it's not just empty. Yes, that's part of it, is that the beautification is going to cause more care to be taken to keep it looking good.
That's true. But if you want to volunteer, holler at me. I'd love to put you on a schedule. We could use your help, okay?
Yeah, you don't appreciate how many fences there are out there until you try to weed eat around them.
And you know how big that ballpark is till you start at the T-ball park, and Todd, we worked our way all the way over to the playground, which is by the Legion, and we put in a full day that day, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great fun, again.
Yes.
Well, Dwight, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for battling the fog to come in and be with us. And
glad to be here, and can't wait till Monday night, and hopefully, with God's grace, we'll make it through this season without any problems, okay?
That's Caldwell County Youth Incorporated President Dwight Meeks. Gary Goodaker is going to stick around with me. We'll continue with more on the Sideline Report after this on WPKY.
Need cash fast? ABC Finance is open with social distancing implementations in place. They believe it's more important now than ever to get a handle on your finances.
Hi, this is Jody Lamb at the Princeton ABC Finance location.
And this is Todd Morse at the Hopkinsville location.
At ABC Finance, we don't just provide loans, but we also provide valuable advice advice to help you get your credit in better standing.
Our friendly team of professionals has your best interest in mind. We celebrate with you when your finances improve.
We encourage you to like our Facebook page, ABC Finance Company. Many of those useful tips are posted daily on our page, including tons of community info and motivation for the day.
To view social distancing guidelines and safety measures, like and follow ABC Finance Company on Facebook. ABC Finance is located off Fort Campbell Boulevard in Hopkinsville next to O'Charlie's, then Princeton and the Princeton Plaza. Apply for loans online or simply give them a call. They'll take your application over the phone. ABC Finance, all loans subject to normal credit approval.
Get into shape and feel good at Trilogy Performance Sports. Trilogy offers a wide range of family-friendly classes as well as personal training, yoga, gymnastics, sports training, cardio, and weightlifting. Trilogy has something for everyone. Trilogy now offers an app with online workouts, live classes, nutrition tracking, and more. Search Trilogy Performance Sports in your app store. Use sign-up code 1824. For app info and more, follow them on Facebook.
Shop local, buy local, save big deals.
It's here. The Loyal Listener Big Deal Store is online and waiting for you to shop and buy gift certificates to local businesses. Go to WPKYonline.com. Click on Loyal Listener Big Deals. Here you'll find dozens and dozens of gift certificates. Some you'll even be able to redeem from your smartphone. Shop and buy 24 hours a day and save a ton of money in the process. Save on oil changes, dining out, haircuts, car washes, and more. Our store never closes, but you better hurry. You never know how long each deal will last.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3, WPKY, and WPKYonline.com. Again, thanks to Caldwell County Youth Incorporated President Dwight Meeks for joining us this morning. Gary Goodaker is going to stick around. We've got more to talk about as we finish up the Sideline Report for this Thursday. And Gary, some good information there from Dwight. And again, just excited that we're actually going to have some ball games at the ballpark.
I think it's wonderful for the kids, and I think it's wonderful probably more for the parents. I think there's just something about putting the uniform on the little kid and letting them ride to the ballpark and getting them something to eat after the game. And I just think it's going to help them so much with everything they've gone through since March. This might be one of the very first times they've gotten to do something that they would consider normal since then. I'm excited for them.
Well, and like Dwight said, we've all had sports taken away from us now for several months, and those of us who are sports inclined, it hasn't been a good 2 or 3 months, but you get some excitement back when you see a few things starting up, and you think, well, maybe this is going to be the thing that kickstarts everything, but then you see the coronavirus numbers go back up a little bit, and then you think, well, are we going to get to see professional sports? Are we going to get to see college sports? Are high school sports going to be able to start this fall on time?
Not in Tennessee, for sure. If you've been following Twitter, they have gone ahead and said that, I believe September 18th, I'm going to look at my phone, that's where the games are going to be at the earliest. No varsity football prior to the 18th, and that affects some of our teams in our Western Kentucky region because they had some scheduled games either at or versus Tennessee high schools.
Yeah, an executive order in Tennessee prohibiting anything through August 29th. So that means the earliest they could practice is August 30th.
Right.
And like you say, that throws the start of the season back to the 18th of September for those schools.
At the very earliest.
Yeah, at the earliest.
Well, because I'm sure that they have the helmets and then pants and pads. There's a sequence you have to go through of so many practices with those equipment issuance, and it's a clock. If you stop it at the 29th, you cannot play football the 30th because you got to acclimate them.
Well, Mayfield and Fulton County were both in that boat of having Tennessee opponents to open the season, so they've actually just gone ahead and scheduled each other for the first week of the season.
Yes, and I think Hopkinsville, there's plenty of others.
Yeah, they're looking for somebody to play.
Right, and it's going to be happening more and more because I'm sure Indiana schools, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky borders a lot of states. Around the perimeter of the state, you're going to have a lot of schools that will have to deal with this. I'm sure Tennessee's probably not the only one that's going to do this.
Well, and you have to decide if you eat up part of the schedule, Do you try to play that at the back end of the schedule? Do you just ignore those games and play a shortened schedule? Do you try to change the playoffs to get more games in? There's a lot of questions there, and unfortunately, so far, not a whole lot of answers.
Now, it's going to be interesting. Your Sports Edge had a good story. People were talking about, do you flip schedules? Well, as of the next July Board of Control meeting, that is not on the agenda. There's a lot of talk about that being tweeted out, and it had to be not confronted, I guess you could say, but addressed by the board that it is not on the agenda. The fields most football fields that I know of are designed to be played in the fall, and they pick their grass and drainage set up accordingly. Playing them on the spring could really mess them up, and then you'd have to turn around and play on them again. There are a lot of factors to consider. If you were going to do spring sports in the fall, how quickly would you make a schedule? I mean, baseball and softball teams don't have a schedule yet. And if they did, it would be invalid because they didn't make one for August. There's a lot to think about. It's not just as easy as just flipping something.
Well, I think most of us are on the same page on this, that we wouldn't really want to see that. But if it meant having football or not having football and having baseball and softball and all those sports as opposed to not having them, I think we would all try to figure out some way to make it work.
Well, that's definitely what people have to think about. I know that I've helped with the schedule for the labs, and I've done things behind the scenes for other places. And until you get your hands into something like that, you really don't know how many moving parts it takes before you can just flip a switch. There is no just snap your fingers and everything goes. Every change has layers of change. It's like the iceberg that you see the tip of. Underneath it is everything that has to be done to make that occur.
Well, and I guess one reason everybody's fired up to get the fall sports going, because we've been without sports, as we mentioned, but here in Caldwell County especially, because if you start going through the fall sports here, football is expecting a really good team this year. Went 8-3 last year, so could be a big season on the horizon. Both Caldwell County soccer teams are expecting good seasons. Caldwell County volleyball team expects to be in the hunt for a regional championship. Could be some surprises come out of the golf team this year. So there's lots and lots of reasons, from that sports standpoint, to really be excited if you're a Caldwell Countyan, if we can actually get sports going this fall.
I think that we may have to accept a shorter season as almost a given now. I can't imagine that Kentucky will be able to start on time when Tennessee to the south is not. You may say, well, they're a little bit more, there's a little bit more cases there, but still, cases are cases. There's plenty. I think that we're going to find out a lot at the July meeting for the Board of Control next week. We'll probably see those dates. Everyone's waiting on the July 12th date that normally practice would start. I think we'll get some guidance sooner than later.
Yeah, and I think we've all just basically assumed that it would be at least September before anything got going. Maybe we can see some golf. The youngsters are out playing, and golf is a great way to social distance. There's not a whole lot of, interaction there in that sport, and you could probably play cross country. You could figure out a way to run cross country and make that happen. But the other sports are going to be a little bit more of a challenge. Soccer, there is some contact, not as much as football. You use your feet for the most part to kick the ball around, except for throw-ins and when the keeper has it. Most of the keepers have gloves, though.
Right.
So I think there are some things you could do with soccer to maybe get it going a little quicker. But football is going to be the biggie, I think.
Well, when we look at what other states are doing, the question Kentucky and really every state has to answer is, are we going to be the first to stick out and say yes? And I don't see a lot of state high school organizations saying, yeah, I'm going to be number one. We're going to do it when others don't. It will probably be very uniform nationwide. Yes, I know some states have higher caseloads than others, but in the end, it's going to take a remarkable set of situations for someone to say, yes, we're going to go ahead and do it.
We have seen some pro sports back up. Again, men's golf is going, NASCAR is going. We're going to see some horse racing. So we've got a few things going. What's up with Major League Baseball, though? You would have thought they would have been the first ones out of the gate, try to fill that void, take advantage of the fact that there's no other sports going on and kind of be the savior to all the sports fans. But MLB seems like they're dragging their feet.
The owners claim that every game played in an empty stadium is a loss. So, mathematically, if they're true, they would want as few games as possible because they would rather probably play none and, in their mind, cut their losses. Now, you may be cutting your losses in 2020 in the short term, but you could be devastating your long-term viability if you don't get your product out there when you have the opportunity to do so. To me, the owners are saying, oh, we lose every game. Well, when you write a check to an organization for advertisement, didn't you lose money because you paid for advertising? Well, in essence, to me, the games are advertising your product. It's a commercial. So very few successful businesses do not advertise. So to me, it's illogical that you would say that every game's a loss. I would look at it as an advertisement of my product, and advertisement, for the most part, costs money.
Yeah, and you would think the goodwill generated would just be worth all of that. But we're talking about Major League Baseball, and, there's an organization out there, the New York Mets, who are paying Bobby Bonilla $1.2 million, I think it is, every
2035.
Yeah, every July 1st, and I think he retired in 2001.
Well, yesterday was Bobby Bonilla Day, so everybody who...
Good for him, though.
That's right. Negotiating a good deal. That's right. He deferred that money, and that's something, if you do not know the story of Bobby Bonilla and his contract, it is worth your time to look up and read it. It's so amazing, and it shows sometimes why just because someone's got a lot of money doesn't mean they're running their business well.
Well, and that may be the second best professional sports contract ever. To me, the best one are the owners of the St. Louis Spirits.
St. Louis Spirits of the ABA.
Yeah, because they signed on for media rights.
Media rights in perpetuity.
Yeah, at the time when all that the ABA and the NBA merger happened, well, the NBA couldn't even get on live TV. The championship was tape delayed. Well, at the time, that looked like chump change. As it turned out, though, those media rights later on ended up being millions and millions of dollars, and I think eventually...
They bought them out.
Yeah, the NBA bought them out because...
it was just too expensive.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of millions and millions of dollars for owners of, non-owners of a team at that point.
Right, because the team was dissolved. It was not incorporated into the ABA-NBA merger in 75. But when you look at the baseball season, there are going to be some big differences. And 60 games, of course, that's less than half of a normal season. So every game proportionally is worth more as a percentage of your season. So I think you're going to see managers in MLB 2020, they're going to have quick hooks on their starters. They're going to go with their power arms. They're not going to hold their bullpen back. And I think they're going to try even harder to win every game because one game now is worth basically 2.5 times as much as it would be in a 162-game season.
Speaking of the Spirits of St. Louis for a second, though, I've got some trivia, some off-the-cuff trivia I'm going to throw at you. Do you know who the radio play-by-play man was for the St. Louis the Spirits of St. Louis?
Was it the St. Louis Bob Costas?
Yes, it was Bob Costas.
Because he did some baseball, too, down in St. Louis, and he might have even done hockey for a year. I don't know. But, yes, I think it was Bob Costas.
And do you know where the Spirits ended up?
I thought they were dissolved, so I didn't know they ended up anywhere, to be honest.
Oh, that was the Hawks, wasn't it? That was the St. Louis Hawks that ended up in Atlanta.
Yeah, St. Louis Hawks ended up in Atlanta, yes.
That's what happens when you do off-the-cuff trivia. Sometimes, you mess it up.
One for me, one for you. We'll let it go there.
But good job on the Bob Costas.
Thank you. I'm interested in the baseball season from that standpoint because I'm very curious about how managers will do things differently because the games being worth more proportionally. But also, I'm interested in the universal DH. I think this is something they've been wanting. I think this is their opportunity to get it. And I think it will help your St. Louis Cardinals. I think you have enough bats that ninth batter is going to make a difference. You are tailor-made for a DH with your lineup.
Well, ever since Tony La Russa got there, the Cardinals have basically been an American League team in the National League.
Right. So now they just get to play that way. But I think the division has also some of those teams. Kyle Schwarber is a ready-made DH for the Cubs. The Reds had too many bats in their outfield anyway. So I think your division, the NL Central, is going to be played more American League style because the Pirates aren't any good anyway, so that doesn't really matter. And the Brewers have Ryan Braun, where they really don't have a good position for him as an aging slugger. So you're going to have to get used to AL baseball pretty much every game because you're playing the Central teams from the AL and the NL.
Well, and I'm not a big fan of the designated hitter, but, this is going to bring the DH to the National League full time because once you get it in there, even if it's for a shortened season or next season, you're not getting rid of it at that point. Once it's there, it's there.
Now, I like what you posted on Facebook. You posted a simulated standings of what they think would happen. I want the National League to go exactly the way that your post went.
Yeah, that was from USA Today.
Was from USA Today. Because you had 3 division winners, so they make the playoffs. The first wild card was Washington, so they would host the wild card game. And 6 teams tied for the second wild card. I want to see a 6-team single elimination playoff just to determine who will be the second wild card who goes to Washington to play a 1-game playoff.
Wow.
Because if it goes right, a team could play 5 different games in 5 different cities, theoretically.
Wow.
Because if you did not draw a bye, you'd play the play-in round, to play the second round, to play the third round, just to get to Washington. And if you win that one, you'd go to the Dodgers. So I think that would be insane and awesome and probably good for the baseball because it would probably get it a lot more publicity to have such a crazy wild card. So I'm looking for the 6-team play-in for the second wild card.
Well, and one of the big questions I've seen is if you have a 60-game schedule, is that a legitimate season? And whoever wins the World Series this year in a shortened season, is that going to be considered a legitimate World Series title, or is there going to be one of those asterisks out there beside it?
I think it will depend on what teams make it. If people look and say, these are probably the 5 teams that would have made it under a 162. If it's still in the National League, the Braves, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, Washington, and realistically whatever wild card, and you play the playoffs the normal way, I think people will say, yes, that's probably fair. Now, if because of a shortened schedule, the Pirates somehow win the division at 31-29, and everyone goes, well, that was just luck, and in reality, the 5 best teams didn't make it from the National League, you may then get that asterisk.
Because I think the year is set up for somebody to get off to a really hot start and to ride that to the playoffs. And again, we've mentioned it here before that with the expanded playoffs now, with the wild cards, it's all about making the playoffs and then hoping to get on a run. It's not like in the old days where you had to win your division or you weren't going anyplace.
Mathematically, it is more likely that you will have quirks when you have a smaller sample size of games. It's a lot easier for a team to win 33 out of 60 than it is to win the proportionate amount of 162, which I guess would be around 88 or so, because there's just too many things that can happen to you injury-wise. Now, conversely, the best team could have 3 injuries the first week and not have time to recover. So a team that probably is on paper the best team, if they have a bad stretch and go 27-33, the season's over. They don't have time to recover, and they don't even make it.
With a shortened season, perhaps would you ride a starting pitching staff a little bit longer? We see a lot of pitching changes these days, but when you don't have that 162-game schedule, there's not really as much need to pace yourself in any regard.
I wouldn't pace anything. If my starter could only go 3 and I saw trouble, he's gone. I'm not worried about anything other than getting through each game. And if I have to do what Tampa Bay does and do an opener and then somebody go 3 and then somebody go 3, or if I just go power arm for 2, power arm for 2, power arm for 2, left, right, left, I'm doing whatever I have to do ethically to win the game pitching. I am not looking at a 4th starter. My 4th starter is probably now a long reliever.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY, Princeton, Kentucky. Thanks again to Dwight Meeks, Caldwell County Youth Incorporated President, for stopping by today. Talking now with Gary Goodaker. And Gary, anything else you want to add before we wrap up the show today?
just support these kids at the ballpark playing baseball and softball, and just go by there and buy a hot dog and just social distance. But if you don't have anybody out there, go see the game. I mean, as long as you stay away,
enjoy the game.
As long as you stay 6 feet away from the people, wave at your friends and coworkers that you see, and let's just hope that we can have guidance toward where we're headed with the fall sports. I know somebody's going to be disappointed, even if you lose a few football games. That's going to hurt because you want the full experience. But I think we just have to trust better judgment and just keep those people in mind who have to make the decisions. They're not doing it to hurt you. They're not doing it to take something away. They're doing what's they believe is best.
Yeah, we're trying to ease back into sports. It's not going to all come at us at once.
No.
Although maybe at some point in the fall we might get a huge, sports bonanza where you have all kinds of different sports going on at the same time. At least the optimistic side of me is going to hope for that anyway.
Well, we'll know a lot more, I think, in the coming weeks. So enjoy your 4th of July weekend and just take time to be thankful you're in the country you're in. And basically, let's just enjoy with our families and our friends responsibly, and let's see what we find out in the coming weeks.
That's going to wrap us up on the Sideline Report today. Again, thanks to Dwight Meeks and Gary Goodaker for being here. This is Todd Griffin. You've been listening to the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Serving Caldwell County since 1950. We're 1580, 103.3 WPKY Princeton.
News. I'm Chris Foster. 4.8 million jobs came back last month, with more businesses closed by coronavirus restrictions reopening. Fox Business Network's Edward Lawrence.
You're seeing 2.1 million jobs created in leisure and hospitality. 358,000 jobs were created in healthcare. Retail is up 740,000 jobs. Construction up 158,000.